Hello and welcome to my channel. We're kind of high altitude right now because I was gonna talk about this little water bottle pouch thing that I got and how it incorporates in with my system. And I went ahead and I broke down and got the Pathfinder nesting cup. It's really designed for the Grail GeoPress. The GeoPress is larger than the Ultra Press, but this will fit. I mean, it's bigger. I just put a bandana in there, but we'll get to that. But first, I want to get to a quick channel update. Today's April 7th. Tomorrow's my birthday, and I haven't been going to Lake Bardwell because it's been cold and everything else, and my spot has been temporarily closed. It's open now. But I think they closed it because that's where all the bluebonnets are at, and they're blooming and everything. So tomorrow, if the weather warms up, I'm going to go down there, I think, for my birthday and kick it at the lake and show pictures of all the bluebonnets. It's really pretty up there. Before, when you looked at it before, it was wintertime and stuff and desolate, or it was summertime at the very end after the blooming season is over. But what I've done with my knives, my storage collection, is I put them all facing this way. Rather than having stuff in the back that I would never get to or have a hard time getting to, this way is better. It's stacked up 8 rows high, and as you can see, some of them are empty, like room for growth. And then I have more knives and stuff lying around here. And it's not completely cleared off, but I cleared off enough of a space to cover what I'm going to talk about. Which is mainly this pouch. I was looking at a bunch of different things. I thought about making, you can just take a leather strap or something, pieces of leather, and stitch together something to hold a bottle. There's not a whole lot to that, but when you start getting a molly pouch, all this little webbing and stitching and everything, it's kind of hard to do on your own. I paid $15 for this thing. All right, so you got to look at the dimensions of what you're trying to cover and get, and look at all the pictures, because a lot of these at the very bottom over here, it has a mesh bottom, which you may think, oh, that's pretty good, everything will drain out. But this is also where if you set it down or anything, that's where your wear point's going to be. It's right there. And every time I've run into any kind of like mesh and stuff like that, eventually it tears or breaks or messes up. I mean, it's usually not a good idea. I'd rather have solid fabric. I think this is 1000 denier, and there's a single zipper method over here. It's got a little toggle. It's also lined with like vinyl or rubber or whatever. Pretty good zippers. Sometimes when you go to start, it's kind of hard, to get it going, but you just got to line the fabric and everything up, and it works perfectly fine. We might as well show this. I pull this guy out. It's a little Grail Ultra Press. I got my little system for hanging it, because a lot of people complain, well, here's a titanium spoon. Notice it's not a fork, it's a spoon with a long reach handle for digging out of backpacking meals and stuff like that. And then there's nothing else in there, but you can see how it's lined with like vinyl and stuff like that. Let me get that out of the way for right now. And then it's got a side pouch where you can store other stuff. So you've got kind of like a camping system here. You got a water container, water filtration, and I just toss this in here. Fire Dragon, multi-fuel cooker, in there. You could put an alcohol stove. Here's where you can store your lid. Now, And it's still got, what I like about this is there's MOLLE on the inside here, where you can still attach stuff. You know, it just follows along with the MOLLE that's all the way around the webbing. The stitching is done very well. There are some points, you know, like where you're gonna pull on it, where I would have double stitched. I would have stitched through the fabric here, but you can always do that yourself afterwards if you know how to sew and you've got a sturdy enough needle to go through that. And that's when you want to use one of them little thumb thimbles and stuff, because you're going to bear down a lot of pressure on a needle. And even the dull side of a needle will poke through your thumb if you put enough pressure on it. But see what I mean? They did that zigzag. And it's a nice X kind of a bar tacking on it. Also the MOLLE back here. Sometimes you'll see some where they show you a MOLLE webbing and there's no corresponding attachments underneath it. That's not true. That's not true MOLLE, because the advantage to this is you can loop this down through here, feed it through here, and then instead of having this big of a loop, now it's this small, so you can attach it here or here. It's also more secure, you know, to web it through that way. So that's good. Good snaps on it. I'll show you the brand. I don't know what it is. I just randomly picked it. I just looked through the different stuff. I'm not associated or affiliated with them. Little places here for you to add patches. You know, you can add a couple of more things on the outside. I mean, you can really gadget this up. There's hooks on the outside, plus a little. The only thing I find with these type of clips is sometimes the spring will fail on cheaper ones. I don't know how this will work, but sometimes if this spring fails right here, this thing's pretty much useless. If this is always just flapping around. But if you got weight suspended on it, it shouldn't have any problem. I don't have any. It doesn't feel like I'm going to have any issues with this, but I've noticed this on some cheap carabiners, not for climbing ones, you know, just ornamental that you buy a pack of, and I've had a couple of those fail. So it just depends on the brand, but it's all how they make the spring in here. You can't see it, but something's giving that tension going this way. See that? It's that little piece of metal. If that holds up, and if that works, that's fine. Anyways, you got more Velcro here. You can add a little patch there to it. It's a pretty good system. Single drain hole in the bottom. It's fairly water repellent, you know, waterproof, I would say, except for this external pouch right here. There's no corresponding flap, you know, to cover it if you were in a downpour, and eventually water could get through there, I guess. You know, zipper's not usually super waterproof. But other than that, see, like here you got a flap covering this. But it's a water bottle. I mean, what are you protecting it from? Water? So just keep that in mind, you know, what you're doing. But there's plenty of room in here. It fits. I'll show the dimensions. It goes all the way down. Now, if I wanted to go lighter weight, and I didn't want this big stainless steel one, I could still go with my 450 milliliter, you know, little titanium pot, which is a lot lighter than the stainless steel. You don't have as much room volume wise, you know, to cook and all that other stuff as you would with this. Whoops, you went Dick Tracy. This one goes up to 900 milliliters, or like 32 ounces or something like that. So it's got plenty of room. Little vent holes. This fits tight, friction fit on there. Here's a little box for it. It has the little handles, lid with straining holes. Camp cooking, fire safe. Jeez, fire safe. And it has Dave Canterbury in here. Heavy gauge folding handles, glove friendly. Glove friendly, not bare hand. Well, it's wide enough. I can't really, this thing's so secure on here. We'll look at the cup later, but I just wanted to go over everything. If I wanted to heat shrink this, these are that's so thick of a material and everything. It's not as easy to bend. It's not as easy to do this on that because that's thick on that stainless steel. So I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to remember to, I've got some fiberglass tape I can wrap around there, but it's gummy and everything. That's the way you learn things, you know. If you're cooking and you don't have the proper handles for it, you know, and you've left it on the fire or whatever, you've left it like this, and the flames are going, and you reach up with your bare hands and you go, ah! Well, next time you're going to have a bandana, every time you look at your hand, because you use your hands a lot, and if you damage them, cut them, burn them, or whatever, every time you do something with your hands, you're going to be reminded of your stupidity. And that's one of the best things to reinforce, unless you like pain. I mean, if you like pain, you're going to go, ah! Instead of, ah! You're going to go, ah! So much pain. You know, and maybe you like the smell of burning flesh with your coffee. I don't know. But anyways, it's very well spot welded on here, and it's very thick metal. And to do this, who knows how far it was joined up there. I hear something. Just a second. You hear that? It's like water dripping. Anyway, weird noises coming from the kitchen. It's the sound of expanding metal from heat. You know, pipes when they're cold and they warm up. But we didn't get to that much of a... It didn't get down to freezing. It got down to the upper 30s last night, but it didn't get freezing. Anyway. Yeah, this is well made. That fits in there securely. It, you know, doesn't, you know, rattle loose and everything. Nice D-ring that stands up. I haven't used it yet, but to keep it from rattling around, I just, you know, take a bandana, put it like this, take that, go like that, fold the handles in, boom, slap it in here. Now, you also have side stuff where you could put your spoon on the outside if you're spooning a lot and carrying it around. There's enough this goes here, but you have to have the spoon facing this way to get the zipper to work on this thing. If you go the other way, I mean, you can still do it, but you got to mess around and pull on it and everything. I just store it in here. I mean, just to avoid all that. Because, I mean, I'm not going for a spoon right away, you know, when I'm walking around. Oh, I need a spoon! And this way you can still zipper it open, access your water without having to pull everything out. Again, with the Ultra Press, you gotta be careful with this cap. You don't want to take it off and set it down somewhere. I thought about drilling a little hole through here and attaching maybe some bank line to it and attaching that to this handle, you know, just so that if you pull this off, the cap, you know, stays attached to it. But your seal is really right up here when it gets tight enough. Right, so you got to go all the way down to get your seal, and you don't have a lot of clearance. I'm not tightening it as much as it could go, but you don't have a lot of clearance to do that, and I don't know how thick that is to do a side loop cut. But I mean, that's a future project. I'm thinking about some way of modifying that to keep from losing the cap. Not that I plan on doing that, but as long as you can make things mostly idiot-proof or accident-proof, the better it is. But it holds it securely, and then you can put your little lid, you know, over here. And then I forgot my little goodies. That's if you want to dangle the pot over a fire. This will work. These are the biggest ones, and they clamp on that top of that lid just perfectly fine, just like the little ones do on the other one. And the little ones. Put it in here. Get in there, you. There. But yeah, I think it's well worth it, the money, because I'm going to try to stop spending money as much as I can, but I wanted to have something to transport, you know, everything that I figured I need. I could add a ferro rod in there, a little flashlight. You know, I can put more stuff on it. I always can add more junk to it. But it's got a nice strap here. Like about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. 1.5 inch webbing on the strap. Nylon or plastic fasteners. Carries well. I was going to get it olive drab or tan, but sometimes when you're ordering from Amazon, they have certain ones that are on sale that cost less, and I think that was it. Or the delivery times are different. You can get a faster delivery time with a certain pattern. So I mean, that's the only reason, and it's just isn't bad. But that's what I got. That's what I got right there. I just wanted to show you that and give you a little update, and that I will be going out tomorrow to the lake. Today it was just too damn cold. It's gonna warm up. I mean, but that noise right now is the heater running up there because yeah, it's been cold. But there you go. That's my latest purchase, my latest gadget. And like I said, I'm going to try to cut down on spending simply because I'm not going to have that much money. I don't have that much money to begin with, but I'm not going to have that much money. But I'll just make do with what I've got. And there's plenty of things I can do. Like I said, going out to the lake just to chill out and look around and organize all this stuff. That'll take a while. Anyways, there you go. That's the latest update. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.